everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So another not great week for numbers, but some really interesting things to go over and definitely showing a trend in terms of where we're going. So looking at Georgetown this week, we had 9 sales. That is not a high number, but it's not as low as what we were seeing, that last week of August, first week of September. So 9 sales is like, we'll take it. There's some sales. And 5 of them were $1 million and over. So that's kind of good news that a couple of those houses were selling, but still very slow in terms of sales considering how much stuff we have available. Now looking at new listings, we had 20 new listings in Georgetown this week. Another huge number. I mean, last week was 30, which was like really huge, but 20 is still a really big week for Georgetown. So that again is not the direction we want to be going in. Looking at Acton this week, they had 5 sales, which is like quite a bit for Acton. Like 5 is a good number, but there was 11 new listings. So that is a lot of new inventory. I don't know if I've ever seen double-digit new listings in Acton. Like I was thinking about it, and that's just a lot of new listings for Acton. So Acton again is feeling the inventory rise, and it's just kind of sitting in a position that it's never been in with such high inventory. Nothing happened in Glen Williams, no sales, no new listings, no sales in Limehouse, but there was 1 new listing, and the rural market had no sales, but 8 new listings. Like, that is a lot of new listings for the rural market. But what I want to talk about before I get into our active inventory is last week I touched on how when I pulled open the expired, terminated, suspended listings, the list was pretty long. And the same thing happened this week. And I was like, okay, I'm going to give you guys an idea now that we're in this shifting market, sort of what's happening with those. So I look at those properties to make sure that I take them out of the new listings. Because when I searched new listings last week, it comes up like over 50, which is actually not an accurate number because a lot of those are relisted properties. So I really dive into it and make sure I comb those out so I'm giving the proper stats, not just like the easy search way. Like I make sure I take those things out. So when I did that search this week, there was 25 properties that either terminated or came off the market. And so when I broke those down, of those 25, 9 of them terminated and came back on the market at a lower price. So we are officially in the market where people are having to lower their pricing to adjust to the market. So 9 properties came off the market and re-entered at a lower price. 2 properties tried to do bidding wars, it didn't work, and they came back on the market at higher pricing. 1 property came on at the same price, just did a fresh relist to, get it back in the search engine, like near the top. But what was super interesting is 13 of the properties came completely off the market. A lot of them were in the rural market. There was some in Georgetown, some in Acton, but 13 houses were like, nope, this isn't working for me. I'm gonna come completely off the market, and they haven't re-entered yet. So again, we're seeing these spikes in inventory, but like at the same time, because the market is kind of really bad for sellers, people are coming off the market. So we would be seeing much higher spikes in our inventory if that wasn't the case. So that leads me into this week's inventory. In all of Halton Hills this week, we are up from 179 to 189 active listings. 193 is the highest number I have seen, and we will obviously get there next week. Like there's no doubt, I think, that we're gonna be over that 193 mark. And that's in the 3.5 years that I've been doing these market updates, 193 is the highest active inventory in all of Halton Hills I've seen. I recall a time in the 2019 where we were like in the 200s in all of Halton Hills, but I don't have like records of those. But in the last 3.5 years, we are basically hitting our inventory levels that we have not seen like in 3.5 years. So it's not going to be great for sellers. Georgetown this week went up from 105 to 110 active listings. So not a massive jump, but we're definitely climbing. And again, those properties coming off the market certainly helped. But when we're looking at price points, we definitely are seeing some trends here. So under 800,000 remain the same at 8 active listings. It's a mix of condo townhomes, condo units, and a few freehold properties in there. 800 to a million actually took a dip from 19 to 15 active listings. And again, this is our price point that continues to move. Under a million is always busier, so it's not a surprise to see our inventory dropping. The sad news for 1 to 1.5 million is we are right back up to some of the highest inventory levels we've seen. I didn't go back in my book and check, but in my I can recall seeing 53 active listings in the peak of the market in this price point. And so in 1 to 1.5 million, we're up from 42 to 52 active listings in that price point. So we are super saturated between 1 and 1.5 million. There are so many properties available, and because those properties don't sell as rapidly, it just keeps piling on. So we are going to definitely start to see prices soften in that price point, unfortunately. And then 1.5 million plus is down from 36 to 35. So not a huge drop. And again, some properties, there was a couple of them that came up from over the 1.5 and then went under the 1.5. So they entered that busier pocket at like 1.499. So that's sort of what's happening, but this is generally what we start to see happening. Our higher ticket stuff starts to get saturated, stops moving, and then it slowly trickles down to the lower part of the market, but those houses are the ones that start to feel the pinch in terms of pricing a lot sooner. So that's what's happening this week. So looking at our other markets, Acton is up from 26 to 29 active listings. That is the highest number I've ever seen in Acton. Almost 30 listings is like crazy for that market. So things are still selling. Like we had 5 sales because there's actually some really good inventory available there. And there's been some lower price stuff that's helping those sales numbers. But still 29 active listings is bad news for Acton. That market, I suspect, is going to die right off. Glen Williams remained the same at 6, Limehouse is up from 3 to 4, and the rural market hit 40 active listings from 39 this week. I have never seen the rural market hit 40, so we are just, if you can't feel this trend, we are just seeing we are seeing inventory levels basically at the highest I've seen in a lot of these pockets in the 3.5 years that I've been doing this. Actually, it's like more than that. Since January of 2020, we are seeing these numbers that are going to be, I suspect next week or within the next 2 weeks, we are going to be at our highest levels in most of these areas. Like Acton and rural are already there. Overall market is almost there. Georgetown has to get up to 140 before that hits the mark of where we've seen it hit. But a couple of weeks of no properties coming off the market and the number of listings we're seeing, and that's going to be really feasible. So not a great update for sellers, especially this week. If you have a buyer that is willing to offer on your property, you need to really consider what that looks like, because there's not a lot of buyers willing to offer and the pricing is just going to soften from here. We just heard also this morning inflation rate was at 4%. That's just like another kind of like kick, because that means they're more likely to raise interest rates next time that they have an announcement. So lots going on, but for sellers, the news isn't great. For buyers, it's a good time to be thinking about getting your pre-approvals in place and starting to dip your toes in the market, because there might be some, you know, better deals to be had because of the softening in prices. So I will be back next Tuesday. Have a great week, everyone.